Hey guys, OldMonTCG here, bringing you my Black RagnaLoardmon deck. Would have loved to show off this deck with real cards, but since the release for 1.5 in Germany has been heavily delayed, I am sadly not able to. I pre-ordered 4 boxes, I wanted to do a on-release stream, but because of the terrible way that the distribution for Germany has been handled, I'm sadly unable to. But yeah... Anyways, let's just move on. So, starting off with the Digimon deck. Since this is a RagnaLoardmon deck, we do play 3 copies of Kakemon. What Kakemon does is essentially, when your Digimon is level 7, and it's attacking, you gain 1 memory. So, yeah, just to be able to gain some memory. Memory gain is always useful. And our 2 other Digitals are just 2 copies of Kapurimon. RagnaLoardmon has Reboot. We have Toy Agumon that gives any Digimon Reboot. So having a 1000 DP boost doesn't really hurt all that much. So yeah. That's it for the Digitama deck. Moving on to the main deck. We got 4 copies of Ludomon. Obviously, because this is a RagnaLoardmon deck, we gotta play our Searcher. For red, it's Zubamon. For black, it's Ludomon. And he essentially does the same thing that most search cards in this game do. So on play, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Then you can add a RagnaLoardmon and a Digimon that has Legends Arms in its type to your hand and place the rest on the bottom of your deck. So yeah, to specify, by the way, let's say you flip up 5 cards and it's 2 RagnaLoardmons and literally no Legend Arms at all. You can just add the 2 RagnaLoardmons, because one counts as the RagnaLoardmon in that effect, and the other counts as a Legend Arms card, because the RagnaLoardmon also has Legend Arms in its type. So that's it for Ludomon. Moving on to Toy Agumon. Already mentioned him. He just gives a Digimon Reboot. Don't need to mention a lot more about that. You already know the gist of Toy Agumon, so yeah, moving on. Next up, we just play 4 copies of Commandramon. You can also just play Hagurumon. I just prefer Commandramon, honestly. So yeah, you can just swap that with Hagurumon if you prefer it. But yeah, just a you know, mandatory 2-cost level 3. Next up, we got 3 copies of Chumon. I'll probably always run at least 2 copies of Chumon because he's just so good against blue. And I guess also other RagnaLoardmon decks, because he shuts down the memory gain of cards that aren't tamers. So yeah, I'd always play at least 2 copies of Chumon if it comes to black. That's it for level 3s. Moving on to our level 4s, we got 4 copies of Taya Ludomon. Doesn't have a main effect, but he's relatively cheap to play, and he has the inheritable effect that when attacking, if this Digimon is level 7, trigger Digivolve 1 on one of your opponent's Digimon. So yeah, essentially he gives your RagnaLoardmons a Spider Shooter, so once per turn, free Spider Shooter. So yeah, pretty much it. It's just, I know it sucks that he dies to stuff like Volcanicmon and Alter S, but yeah, you know, cheap to hard play. You can just Digivolve into a level 5 right after. So whatever. Our second level 4 is just a basic vanilla. I still... You can count these as either 4 copies of Numemon or Tankmon. I have not fully decided on which of the 2 I will play in the final build. Because Tankmon has twice the amount of DP, so it doesn't die to Alter S or to Volcanicmon. But Numemon's also easy to hard play. But I tend to... I'll probably play Tankmon just because he has higher DP. So yeah, just count these as one pile. I just haven't decided on which one of the 2 I'm gonna run yet. You can, however, run Numemon and Tankmon both as 2-offs. But yeah, so our last level 4 is just 4 copies of Gardramon. I wanted to experiment with Koisarimon, but since I probably won't get the promos because those were handled horribly as well, I probably won't be able to get my hands on a Koisarimon playset anytime soon, so yeah. So, next up, our level 5s. not level 6s, whoops, that was a spoiler. We play 4 copies of RagnaLoardmon. He does the exact same thing as theyll, just a smaller DP. Also relatively cheap to hard play for level 5, so yeah. Another Digivolve. So if you have both of them under your RagnaLoardmon or your Alter S, you can just Digivolve 2 Digimon once or 1 Digimon twice. So yeah, this deck is really like control heavy. Like I always said that Digivolving is an interesting mechanic, and this set really gave out a lot of Digivolve cards. Our last level 5s is 2 copies of Metal Greymon and 2 copies of Andromon. So yeah, pretty much you can go full on Andromon if you want to play more blockers, or you can get full on Metal Greymon because, as I said before, RagnaLoardmon does have Reboot, so you will be able to give him a security tech +1 if you use a Metal Greymon. It's just another scenario where I'm not sure if I should play a 4-off of either of them. I just like both of them really much. And since as I said before, I won't be able to get the blocker Kurisaimon. Yeah. So, anyways, our level 6s start off with 4 copies of v.1.5. Since it is a RagnaLoardmon deck, obviously we play 4 copies of v.1.5. And all he does is that he gives any Digimon on top of him blocker. So, if he's underneath a RagnaLoardmon or an Alter S, they have a blocker. You have a really, really big blocker on the field if you do this. So, yeah, really good. Like, unless your opponent has a way to delete your RagnaLoardmon, they won't get past it unless they have Omnimon. And then again, like with Omnimon, they can just pop it. So, yeah. Still, like, even with the 12k, that's not bad. If you give that puppy a reboot, that's gonna be great. So, yeah. Next up, we play 2 copies of Blitz Greymon. Just to have another Digimon that has the Digivolve. So, yeah, he's really good, in my opinion at least. And he also has Piercing, so yeah, if your opponent wants to have a rested Digimon on the field that has less than 12,000 DP, oh, yay, yum yum. Okay, so next up we play 3 copies of Durandamon. Same situation as with v.1.5. He's essentially just there to boost up your RagnaLoardmon. So yeah, but instead of the blocker, he gives Piercing. So yeah, also a really good inheritable to give to your RagnaLoardmon. So if you have both of them in your hand, you have pretty much optimal RagnaLoardmon. Lastly, we get to our level 7s. Obviously, since this is a RagnaLoardmon deck, we play 4 copies of RagnaLoardmon. What he does is that he gives himself security type +1, and he has Reboot, as I mentioned before. And he has the one Digivolving effect that you can place a Durandamon or a v.1.5 from your hand on top of this card's Digivolution cards to gain free memory. So essentially, this is a 0 to evolve level 7, as long as you have either a Durandamon or a v.1.5 in your hand when you Digivolve into this. So yeah, really, really good. Like, I was skeptical about RagnaLoardmon at first, because I was not a huge fan of level 7 focus decks, but this deck is just fun. Like, I just love this deck. I just really said I probably won't get to play this in, like, hopefully we'll get it started in April. Like, there's some stores that have changed like the date and when they'll have it in stock to April 22nd, or at least like one of the stores that I looked up had April 22nd. But that would really suck to have it like 1 month later than everybody else. Well, at least better than June. But yeah, I'm still hoping that somehow the distributors figure out something that they get their stock just immediately. Get it over to Germany. Oh yeah, our 2 last cards are just 2 copies of Alter S. He's just too good not to play. If you don't want to run Alter S, you can always just just run more rookies, play a tamer like for example the Black Tie. So you don't have to run Alter S, but I really want to run him because like he has synergy with the deck. So for example with v.1.5, 15k blocker. If you give him Durandamon underneath him, then he also has Piercing. So yeah, like, you can make Altares really strong with this build, so... Yeah, I personally really want to run Altares, but like I said, he's a really expensive card, so if you don't want to run him or can't run him, that's fine. Like, you could just find an alternative somewhere. Alright, so anyways, that's it for my Black RagnaLoardmon deck. I hope you enjoyed it. This one was not as scripted as my last one, so excuse the stuttering sometimes. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!